Good evening. It is Wednesday, September 8th, 2021, and coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington. This is the 60th episode of the Best Lamm Sports Show. I'm your host, and with me, as always, is Parker, my son. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
That's right. And studio audience goes wild. Studio audience always goes wild, though. I mean, they go wild for everything. It's just
The
kind
same
of
people every time. So
kind of well, yeah. I mean, they're the same 12 people.
yeah.
It's a small studio. What are you gonna do? So we're live streaming on YouTube. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com. And please check out our webpage, which is, oddly enough, lambsports.com. You can find links to the past shows and the current trivia question on the website. So the first segment of the show is brought to you by The Range. The Range is, wait, you know what? See, already screwed it up. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting destination at 34,000 square feet. The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services. It's all under one roof at The Range, open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 7, Sunday 11 to 5. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. Phone number is 509-571-1449. Make sure you mention the Best Lamm Sports Show. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So, see, now I don't even have that thing up, my intro page, which is this. And I mean, Sissy Blues got T-shirts. They're selling them everywhere now.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, because of what Ed said. So, it's like a big deal. So, UCLA fans are pretty happy with the outcome of that. So, we'll talk about UCLA and LSU here in a minute. But, you know, you can go online and get your Jordan. I didn't realize they were a Jordan team until you had said something. So, but they used
Sounds
to be
right.
Adidas, right? Forever. So,
Well, they were Nike, and then they went to Adidas, and no one's sure why. And they were Adidas for a long while, and then last year they went to Under Armour.
they're
They
trying
were
them
Under
all.
Armour for a year, I think. So they went to Under Armour, and Under Armour dropped everybody. Like Under Armour went from having like 60 schools to having like 10 schools. Like they just cut contract a bunch of people, which left a bunch of these schools open again, and UCLA signed with Jordan.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you know, just kind of figuring out what's best, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. But we do have college football to talk about. We're also going to talk about the Timbers. They won again. Formula One was in the Netherlands on Sunday. The NFL kickoff is tomorrow night. We're going to start with the Oregon Ducks, who beat Fresno State on Saturday to win their home opener, but it was not easy, and it may have come at a high price. Oregon's 31-24 win was overshadowed by star defensive end Kayvon Thibodeau's ankle injury that forced him to miss about, 3/4 of the game. Thibodeau was injured at the end of the running play in the first quarter when his ankle was rolled up on by his own player who was being pushed by an offensive lineman. Also injured in this game was starting linebacker Drew Mathis, who sustained a knee injury in the first quarter. Mario Cristobal has said he will have an update on Thibodeau's status soon. I haven't seen anything today. I was looking, but I haven't seen an update.
Last time I saw, he said he was day to day a few hours ago.
Okay. And
said that they're monitoring. They'll have an update on game day.
I do know that Drew Mathis is out for the Ohio State game already. So big loss. It's a big deal. Oregon looked kind of shaky. They looked great in that first quarter, right? When the defense was winning everything. Am I wrong?
Sure. They did. Yeah. They look great, yeah. Defense was stopping their offense. That's exactly what you want.
Thibodeau forced a sack and then got a sack with a fumble that both, you know, big plays. And, you know, Oregon had 14 points basically off 2 turnovers in the first quarter. The rest of the game was without Thibodeau and Mathis. It was a little bit sketchy. But it ended up being 17 points the rest of the game. So they were outscored 24-17 the rest of the game. But Anthony Brown scored late touchdown when it mattered. They pulled it out. A win's a win, I guess. And Hopefully Thibodeau's not injured too bad. He'll come back and play on Saturday. So, how did you feel the Ducks played in general?
I mean, you'd want to say they were underwhelming, right? That's the gut instinct. Is they look at that score, you watch that game, and you're like, "Oh, what the heck happened here?" But I firmly believe they were keeping gas in the tank on purpose. They were keeping fuel alive. They were rotating out more than they normally do. They were not passing the ball. They were not showing all their systems and things like that. They were trying to keep it as bland, vanilla, and tasteless as possible and just get a win. So that way, when Ohio State looks back, they say, oh, well, they ran the same 4 running plays all game. Oh, well, they ran the same 2 pass plays all game. Until the fourth quarter, when Oregon said, well, I guess we have to win this one. And what they do? They won it. They went out in one drive, and it was no problem. Right down the field, touchdown. Not a lot of issues. So it just goes to show you when they want to, they can. And that's all it took. And our defense in the fourth quarter was fantastic. Our defense in the first quarter was fantastic. Just everywhere in between. Again, I think they were trying to keep it bland. It was a very strange game to watch.
Yeah, it definitely was. So next on the schedule is number 3, Ohio State, who beat Big Ten opponent Minnesota 45-31 on Saturday. The Buckeyes used big play after big play, scoring on a 71-yard Mayan Williams run, and then touchdown passes of 38, 56, 70, and 61 yards from freshman C.J. Stroud. And then a strip sack that led to a 32-yard scoop and score for defensive lineman Haskell Garrett. Chris Olave had 2 of those touchdown receptions, and he, honestly, from what I watched all weekend, he looked like the best receiver in college football. The Gophers' Mohamed Ibrahim rushed 30 times, 163 yards, and 2 scores, and that was just until like midway in the third quarter. He was keeping them in that game, and then he got hurt, and he's done for the season. They're never going to be able to replace a guy like that. That was a huge loss, that kind of turning point in the game. He was what enabled them to keep control of the ball and move the ball downfield and keep close. Even so, it wasn't a blowout win like you would think Ohio State would do. But again, it was their first game as well. How did you?
Yeah, they're shaking off rust.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did you feel about Ohio State? I mean, obviously they have some issues defensively. That's 31 points,
right,
given up. But those big plays look, woof, those are something Oregon's going to have to stop.
The big plays look dangerous, but the problem that I ran into watching them is that their big plays weren't. They're things that you feel like you can predict fairly accurately. It's like, oh, the number 1 wide receiver in the country versus a 2-star cornerback. Could you imagine he's going to get burnt? Probably. Like, they're all things like that where it's like, oh, this happened? Yeah, that makes sense. Scoop and score? Like, I mean, he got sacked and he got strip sacked. Like, that's tough. Like, it does happen, though. I don't know. You never felt watching it like Ohio. You kind of felt like Ohio State kept getting lucky, like these weird breaks. Like, oh, this. So on one of their big touchdown passes where the guy was cutting across the field from left to right, the guy who was supposed to be trailing with him got confused and started to go the opposite way. So he's just wide open.
Yeah.
It just a mental mistake. It wasn't anything that Ohio State did right. Their quarterback had to lob a ball up. The other guy had to catch it. But they're essentially professionals. They should. They just got lucky that they screwed up, and they saw the screw up and then capitalized on it. I think that Oregon's defense, no matter how much you want to look at this last game against Fresno and think that, oh, our defense has question marks or our defense didn't do this great or that great, we let up 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals. And from the moment Kayvon went out, it was definitely when it kind of started. But, from the second half, we let up a touchdown and field goal. We only gave up 10 points in the second half. I scored 10 points in the second half, but we only gave up 10. I feel like our defense is more equipped. It opens up, and Kayvon's probably going to be back. I feel like playing that a little close. I feel like it's gonna limit those. What like how did that happen? I feel like that's not going to happen as much as long as we don't keep giving them 10-yard cushion on the outside.
Yeah, that looked like a thing. I'm not sure exactly.
It's been a thing for 4 years. Like even before Cristobal, I've been screaming about it for years. It's like, oh, it's 3rd and 1. Where are the cornerbacks? They're pushed off about 10 yards.
Right.
Why? Jam them up. You're supposed to be bigger, better, stronger. End that.
Right.
So, here's what it is.
Well, and again, they're going to look at it the same way that we do. A win's a win. right? You got to
Win
win
to
them
win, yep.
all to get to where you want to go. So that was good for them. So let's talk about UCLA. Probably the biggest win
Okay.
for the Pac-12 this year so far. Anyway,
It might
UCLA
be the biggest Pac-12 win in a few
in a
years,
few
especially
years,
regular season.
right? LSU came into the Rose Bowl and UCLA beat them. Number 16 LSU, 38-27. That was the first ever meeting between those two teams. I found that to be strange. I mean, they're two pretty large named programs. I found it odd that they've just never played. But
There's a lot of football teams. I bet their basketball teams.
yeah. So the Bruins are now ranked number 16 in this latest poll after starting the season unranked. 2 wins under their belt, 2 non-conference wins under their belt, which is 2 more than Chip Kelly had coming into this season for UCLA. The Bruins,
Yeah.
Zach Charbonnet ran for 117 yards on 11 carries and 1 touchdown. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson threw for 260 yards and 3 touchdowns on just 9 of 16 passing. He completed 9 passes for 260 yards. That's 29 yards of completion. When we're talking about big
We're talking
plays.
about big plays.
Yeah,
There it is.
that's a big deal. UCLA looks like a dangerous football team at this point. Not that they're world beaters, and there's still some issues. You can see them when they play, but they played well. Their defense played really well against LSU, or LSU is just overrated, and that could be too. We'll know more.
Probably true.
We'll know more soon, but I think UCLA is a serious contender in the South. But I think all those teams are going to be good in the South, and we'll talk more about the North here in a minute because we need to talk about the Washington Huskies first. Let's talk about the Huskies, shall we?
Okay.
For only the 5th time in college football history, an FCS team beat a ranked FBS program as Montana shocked number 20 Washington 13-7 in Seattle on Saturday. The Grizzlies played just a fantastic, lights-out defensive game. Not allowing them to get consistent yards. They put constant pressure on Dylan Morris. The quarterback, he had 3 interceptions. The last interception came with 31 seconds remaining to seal it for Montana. It was an ugly loss if you're a Pac-12 fan. I mean, just really ugly. The Huskies scoring 7 points against an FCS team. I don't care who the FCS team is. This is a team that was supposed to be competing for a Pac-12 North title. It was just, man, it was ugly. It was just ugly. I have no words to describe it. I thought Washington at least would win this game, if not, win big, at least win. It's one of those games that you see on your calendar. You go, okay, Montana's a really good FCS school, but Washington should be the better team. They're loaded with NFL talent, supposedly, but they did not show it on Saturday. How did you feel after? Did you get to see any of it?
Yeah, I got to see a little bit of it. Not
Yeah.
much of it though.
Yeah.
Because we were busy at Dan Brother's birthday dinner.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, I watched some highlights later, but yeah, how did you feel?
So I thought that Montana is probably better than the bottom 20% of college football teams in Division One.
Yeah.
So they're probably worthy of a Division One spot somewhere. I'm not saying they're sliding right into the Pac-12 or the ACC or the SEC, but they could probably throw down well in the what's called Mountain West.
Yep.
I don't think they'd have a problem there. I think they'd be just fine. They're one of those schools. Eastern Washington's also in that boat. But yes, Washington should have won this game. There's not a lot of good excuses. Either you are that bad or you just got caught sleeping because you were looking forward to going to the big house and playing Michigan this week.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be more what it was than the other way, because those FCS schools are known for being able to score a lot of points and things like that. So the fact that they only held them to a low score is great. That's still pretty impressive. Most of the times when teams play FCS schools, those teams still score 21, 30 points.
Yeah.
So your team happens to score 60 points. So I don't know. I think they got caught sleeping. I think they were looking ahead to Michigan, and they were thinking that we'll walk through this just fine. But they paid them $675,000 to come there and beat them. How great is that?
It's a classic trap game because you're definitely that biggest game on your schedule outside of the conference is definitely going to Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that. So the Pac-12 North was just underwhelming, going 1-5. Washington State lost to Utah State 26-23 in Pullman. Cal lost 22-17 to Nevada at Berkeley. Stanford lost to Kansas State 24-7 on the road Um, but still, none of those teams are playoff caliber teams. Utah State is FBS. What? They're Mountain West, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Cal Nevada, and then Kansas State. Okay, it's a Big 12 team, but it's not. They're not like they used to be. Anyway, those are bad losses. And then Oregon State, who we're going to talk about right now, they lost to Purdue 30-21 at Purdue on Saturday. The game was when you watch the highlights back, and if you look at the box score and the play by play of what happened, Oregon State didn't play poorly necessarily. Obviously, not as good as they wanted to, but they just couldn't quite finish. They had drives, they had possessions, they had things. They just couldn't quite get it, and Purdue just kept scoring points with 3 points, 3 points. In the middle of the game, it was tied. This is a game that was tied, what, 7-7. And then early in the second quarter, Purdue hits a field goal. Then they hit another field goal. Then early in the third quarter, they hit another field goal. And then it was touchdown, one team back and forth. They traded touchdowns like for the next four possessions or next four touchdowns. But Oregon just couldn't close the gap and lost 30-21. Oregon State. It was, I thought they looked better than some of the other teams that I watched the highlights of in the Pac-12 North, but they still, I mean, it's tough going on the road in your first game and trying to work out the kinks. How did you watch any of the Oregon State highlights? Did you get to see any of those?
I didn't get to see much of it. They had a big quarterback swap in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
They had two quarterbacks who damn near split time. Did one of them get hurt?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen anything about a hurt.
Okay, so they just benched Sam Neuer then, because I think he's who started.
Yes, and he wasn't great.
10 for 21, 94 yards, one interception, a QBR of 7.8.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, not great. I watched the highlights afterward, but they didn't explain that issue of why they switched quarterbacks.
Right.
I mean, it's an underwhelming game.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't super fun to watch. I mean, I'm sure if you're a fan of one team or the other, it was one thing or the other. But I mean, Purdue just kind of worked the ball upfield and then kicked field goals.
Yeah.
All game. It was nothing spectacular. And Oregon State had mounted a little comeback in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
But it wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough.
It was just an underwhelming game. But it's probably one of the best non-conference games from that week.
Yeah.
There wasn't, and that's the thing. You were talking about the South versus the North and how the South fared better, but I feel like the North played harder teams. The North had, Fresno State. It was a pretty formidable team. The North had Purdue. The North had Nevada's, kind of hit or miss, but I'd say they're on par with our bottom level teams. I mean, Montana, the exceptions. Kansas State, BYU. Those are schools that are good schools at football. Like, I'd say we had the shorter end of the stick at least, but that LSU game overshadows that whole thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt.
That LSU game almost makes up for 4 or 5 of those. So
yeah.
I don't know. It was an interesting week for the Pac-12.
It really was. The rest of the college football. So number 1 Alabama beat an overrated number 14 Miami team 44-13, and we told everyone that when we had the
told
ratings.
everyone that for sure.
Yeah, 40. It was 41-3 halfway through the third quarter. That game was a joke. Number 2 Oklahoma survived a large comeback by Tulane to win 40-35 at home after the game got moved because of the hurricane. Hurricane Ida's remnants, so they moved it to Oklahoma. Oklahoma gets a gift as a home game, and then tried to squander away a lead in the second half and barely won. It cost them 2 spots in the poll. Not that that's a big deal. Tulane, congratulations, Tulane. If there's ever what they say a moral victory or a good loss, that's it.
Found it
right there. Yeah, that was it. Number 5 Georgia beat number 3 Clemson 10-3. Boring.
Oh my goodness! The only touchdown was a defensive touchdown, and it was such a weak football game.
I mean, you're either elite or you're not, right?
Apparently on offense or on defense, we're not sure.
Said someone in that game, and I'm just saying. I didn't find either team to look like they were elite. And I know exactly what everyone's going to say. Oh, their defenses were elite. Look at them. They shut the other team down and whatever. What that means is you had 2 offenses that could not score. That were just bad. And
a good offense overcomes the defense. I mean,
find a way.
Oregon played fantastic Stanford defenses, top 5 Stanford defenses in the early 2010s,
Yeah.
and we were still consistently scoring 40 points on them.
Yeah.
We were losing those games because our defense was getting a little thrashed by Toby Gearhart and company, but what's it called? We were scoring 30, 40 points. Like a good offense overcomes that crap, but you
Yeah.
can say what you want about a good defense winning championships.
Yeah. Texas A&M, number 6 Texas A&M beat Kent State 41-10. Who cares? Number
Yep.
7 Iowa State beat Northern Iowa 16-10. That was a lot closer than it probably should have been. Brees Hall, who I told you was probably the best running back definitely in the Big 12, might have been the best running back in college football, 69 yards in that game. I'm sorry if I was wrong. I might have been wrong. We'll find
It
out.
happens.
Number 8 Cincinnati beat Miami of Ohio 49-14. There's a guy, Desmond Ritter, 20 of 25, 295 yards and 4 touchdowns. He looked really, really good. It is Miami of Ohio. I mean, take that for what you will, but it's still, it's not like they lost to Montana. So, although Montana,
He also had 6 carries for 31 yards.
yeah, although Montana might be better than Miami of Ohio, I don't know. But Cincinnati looked really good. That was a good, solid first win. Number 9 Notre Dame needed overtime to beat Florida State in a game where I literally turned the channel. I was watching it, and I turned the channel. Notre Dame was up early, and I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is dumb. And then, Florida State came back, and, Notre Dame led 38-20 after 3 quarters. But squandered that away and needed overtime. I don't feel like Notre Dame's that team that should be in the top 10 either.
Well, and I definitely don't feel like they're a team that should benefit from that weak win.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to get a lot of credit for it, but we're talking about a Florida State team who has been off the map for a while, but they managed to move up a slot for an overtime win over that team.
Yeah.
Number
Number 10 North Carolina lost to Virginia Tech 17-10. Somehow North Carolina is still ranked.
It's North Carolina, man. They're trying to keep the ACC important.
I don't understand that. How do you lose your first game you scored 10 points to an unranked Virginia Tech team and you're still ranked? You started out way too high. You were overranked, obviously, and now they're going to keep you in the poll at 0-1. I've got another bone to pick with Arizona, who lost to BYU, right, in week 1, and they now have 5 votes in the poll, by the way, in week 2.
Yeah, that'll happen.
What? We lost our game, but we're moving up. All right. Number 19.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. They want to put Virginia. So Virginia Tech's in the rankings now. In one they're in 19, and in the other they're in 21.
Right.
So if you're gonna do that, then you have to. If you're gonna say, okay, well, this team must be a ranked team, then you have to give credit to North Carolina for the close loss. Not much credit, because they're down at 24 and 22 now, but you have to give them some credit.
Oh.
You can't really just toss them out yet, because you and I both agree that there are such things as good losses. There are close losses. We think sometimes you should just switch spots. You shouldn't necessarily fall all the way out. I think this is one of those times where if Virginia Tech's that good and we believe that they should be a ranked team, then you have to give North Carolina the credit for a barely losing to a ranked team. So it kind of falls that way.
What I will tell you is it underscores the need to stop having preseason polls. Just stop it. You don't know who the better team. Neither one. Those teams might both go 1-11, and then what do you look like? You look like an idiot for having North Carolina at 10 to start the season. What I'm saying is stop doing that. Wait 5 or 6 weeks and then put out a poll. Well, how come the college football playoff doesn't put out a poll week 1? Because you have no idea who's there.
Because they want to build anticipation.
Yeah, maybe. Just stop ranking people. Stop using ESPN. Stop using this as a tool to promote games. That's all you're doing. Oh, it's number 5 and number 3. Neither one of them's any good. Sorry. They're probably both bad. So, I mean, not bad, but they're probably not both good enough to be 5 and 3. So, I'm just saying that's what happens, and I don't like it. I just stop doing it. Let's just wait 3 or 4 weeks. Wait till we get into at least some part of the regular season, the conference schedules, and then we'll figure it out. But I don't like this. Oh, well, it was the number 6 team in the country. Oh, well, yeah. Were they, though? I mean, USC was number 1 in the country in a preseason poll not long ago. Finished 6-6. I mean, the first team that beat them that year got a win over the number 1 team in the country. No, that's not true. All right. Anyway, that's my soapbox. I'm done.
Yeah, there's your David's minute.
Yeah, that was my minute. What else happened? Penn State, number 19, Penn State went into Madison, took one from number 12, Wisconsin, 16-10. That was an exciting ending to that game. We watched the ending of that game, and it was pretty awesome. Um,
Yeah.
Penn State with the interception to seal it, but Wisconsin had the ball and they were driving. They had a chance. But anyway, that was a fun football game to watch. So that brings us to what? Let's look at the poll, shall we?
Okay.
Okay. So here's your AP top 25 college football poll for this week. And Alabama's still number 1, obviously. Georgia moved from 5 to 2 with their win over Clemson, who fell from 2 to 6. No, 3 to 6, right? Ohio State moved up from 4 to 3. Oklahoma moved down from 2 to 4. Okay, whatever. Cincinnati moved up 1, A&M up 1, Notre Dame's up 1. Iowa State, right, moved backwards 2. And then there's Iowa, who blew out Indiana and moved up 8 spots. What? So now you got an unranked Indiana team at 0-1 that they beat. And then you have Penn State, with their win, moved also up, and Oregon moved down 1. So Iowa and Penn State both jumped Oregon. North Carolina fell back. And so Oregon's net is a loss of 1, so they're number 12. All right. Florida won easily. SC won easily. Texas won pretty easily. UCLA's 2-0, and they should have been probably ranked last week, but it's all right. Wisconsin there at 0-1, still in the chart at 18. There's your North Carolina at 24, also 0-1. I still don't understand that. And then there's Arizona down there, and the others receiving votes. 5 votes they got. They're only 5 votes behind BYU, who beat them last week. I just don't get that. You can't give people votes for a team that's 0-1 who lost to a team who's only got 10 votes on the poll. I don't understand. Anyway, there you go. So that's current. This week, what's going on this week? Big games. Number 12, Oregon. At number 3, Ohio State, 9 a.m. on Fox.
Huge one.
You going to watch it?
Yeah. I'll be waking up early for that.
Number 5 now, Texas A&M at Colorado. That's at 12:30 on Fox. That's the second game, so if you're going to watch Pac-12 doubleheader there. Number 10, Iowa at number 9, Iowa State. I feel like that's the reason why Iowa got that big jump, because ESPN has that as game day this week. Washington plays at Michigan at 5. And if Washington shows up like they did against Montana, forget that one. Number 21, Utah plays at BYU. That's 7:15 on ESPN. I think that's going to be a good game. That's worth tuning into. Ball State plays at number 11, Penn State, 12:30 Fox Sports 1. Pittsburgh at Tennessee is also 9 a.m. on Saturday on ESPN. That might be a good football game to watch.
Yeah, it's going to cause a little household issues with having to bring a second TV up to watch that game at the same time.
At 9 a.m., right? 2 different channels. It's okay.
Don't make it easy.
And then the game of the week, Portland State at Washington State, is at 3 p.m. on Pac-12 Network, if you're going to watch it. So just going to let you...
Upset number 2 on the way, people.
Washington State's already lost one, so, I mean... anyway, which brings us to the Stave and Stone Wine Estates trivia question. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. I mentioned that the loss by number 20 Washington to Montana was the 5th time an FCS team has beaten a ranked FBS opponent. And I know you know Appalachian State's win over number 5 Michigan in 2007.
Everyone knows that.
And we probably remember North Dakota State beating Iowa, number 13 Iowa, 23-21 in 2016.
Yeah.
Can you name the other 2 times it happened? And they're fairly recent.
Name the other.
They're not.
Name the other 2 times an FBS school has beat a.
Yeah, the other 2 times
a ranked FCS school, or sorry, an FCS school has beat a ranked Yeah.
Correct. There's 2 other times it's happened.
I got it.
In college football history, and they're fairly recent. So, anyway, there you go. That's the trivia question.
I think I can do it. Yeah.
Okay, I believe you.
I know one of them for sure.
Okay, awesome. You know what? I don't have my. Oh, I do have my. There we go. This is where we're moving to. Here's your current National League standings in Major League Baseball. We're just moving to Major League Baseball because, why not? Let's talk about it for briefly. Right, if the playoffs started today, San Francisco's number 1, winning the West. The Dodgers have the second best record, but they're only going to get a wild card team. Milwaukee would be number 2. Atlanta would be number 3. The Dodgers would be the number 1 wild card team, And right now, it's a toss-up between San Diego and Cincinnati for that second wild card spot. Philadelphia and the Mets still have a shot. St. Louis has a shot. That's about it. Everybody else is out. So, anyway, that's the National League playoff picture. If it started right now, we're going through this quick because I really don't care, to be honest with you. I won't care probably for another 2 weeks. That's when we'll get to those games that really mean something. Tampa Bay, it leads the American League East. The Yankees have that wild card spot number 1, and Boston has wild card spot number 2. So you can get 3 teams from the same division, much like the National League. Chicago White Sox have quietly amassed 80 wins. Look like a pretty good baseball team. And then there's Houston at 81-58 as the AL West leader. Still with a chance, Seattle, Oakland, Toronto. Everybody else pretty much done. So there you go. Who would have thought we'd be talking about Seattle still having a chance after 140 games?
Not Seattle fans.
No, not. I don't think any baseball fan.
Every time I talk to AJ, I'm like, "How's the baseball season going?" He goes, "Eh."
Yeah, and
like, I'm excited not to have to hear about it for a while.
They got 22 games left. They're only 2.5 back, so there's chance.
Yeah, but they're a game up on the Athletics, which is huge.
They are a game up on. They're almost to a point. They got to win what, 5 or 6 more, and then they'll guarantee themselves 6 more. They'll guarantee themselves a winning record, which is amazing for Seattle. Just gonna put it out there.
If they can do that.
I don't know if they can, but if they can.
There's a lot of games left, but if it's good.
If it's good. So second half of the show brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Be sure to tune in to BossKittyLive.com at 6 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday and 11 a.m. every other Sunday for fun fiber games, tutorials, the occasional F-bomb. Go to BossKittyShop.com and get your DK and fingering weight yarns, as well as Stitch and Progress markers. Looking for a gift? Get them at Boss Kitty Shop virtual gift card. Let them pick it out themselves. I like saying that, by the way, because that's kind of what I want to do with everyone. Just here's some money. Go find something. Right?
Yeah, but Mom would never let that happen.
Because it's not personal enough. Your mom likes... So there's the difference between men and women. We're going to talk about that briefly. Right? Women like that personal touch. That, you know what I mean? That thoughtful, that, oh, you took some time and you went and got me something and you're considerate. I get it. Men are like, I don't know what you want. Here's your money. Go buy something, and tell me how happy you are.
All right. So I had a Parker's Minute for the end of this show, and I just got a new one just now. Based on this whole thing, it's something I'm more passionate about complaining about.
Clearly, we're going to talk about that later. All right.
Yeah.
So okay. So anyway, that's Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. I don't know. It's just kind of how I feel. I don't know. All right, let's talk about Formula One because we do. Formula. I'm gonna have to get that recording right.
You really should. Yeah, that would go real well right in there.
Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton qualified 1-2 for the Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort last Sunday, and it was Verstappen that led most of the race, and he held off numerous charges and strategies by Hamilton and the Mercedes team for his 7th win of the 2021 season. Verstappen regained the points lead from Hamilton, which now stands at 224.5 to 221.5, 3-point lead. He trailed by 3 going in. He leads by 3 going out. Valtteri Bottas finished 3rd and is in 3rd overall. He's got 123 points, but he is a non-factor for the most part unless he knocks somebody off the track. You didn't hear that from me. Bottas announced...
I heard that.
Bottas announced this weekend, I think it was Tuesday, that he was leaving Mercedes at the end of the season and going to Alfa Romeo to replace the retiring Kimi Räikkönen, who's 41. I mean, he's like 100 in racing years. But he's replacing him as their primary driver. George Russell of Williams Racing is expected to be announced this week at some point. Now, they haven't done it yet. I'm assuming it's coming tomorrow. He's going to be announced as the replacement for Bottas, as the number 2 driver for Mercedes. And I don't know who the Williams driver will be. That they'll fill somebody in at Williams, I guess. So, a little round robin, probably.
Oh,
anyway.
I thought I saw who it was earlier. I got an update saying that somebody was coming back.
Could be
to join him. Somebody who previously raced for.
It's Alex Albon.
Alex Albon.
Yeah, Alex Albon was Red Bull last year.
Yeah, so he's coming to Williams. He officially signed 10 hours ago.
Nice. There you go. So there's the answer. So anyway, it's been fun. I've enjoyed watching it. Have you not enjoyed watching I mean, this race was a little boring, but for the most part, it's interesting to watch, and the more you get into it and you read about it and you learn about Formula One, the more interesting it is to watch what happens on a racetrack. And those cars are so fragile. I mean,
Yeah.
one little bump and you're done. So it's amazing that that doesn't happen more often. That there aren't people just flying out of races constantly. But I find it fun to watch. I enjoy it. It doesn't take very long, really hour and a half.
That's the biggest draw to it is that it's like an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, give or take.
That's it. Yeah, but I've enjoyed watching it for the most part. It's just the results, and I keep missing the weekends when shenanigans happen. So those are the weekends. So it's like I'll watch a weekend and it's boring, and the next weekend I won't watch, and people go flying off the track.
Yep.
And it's like,
Yeah.
what just happened? So I haven't really seen a race that's had a lot of drama in it yet. All the races I've seen have been like, who's in first? They're winning. That's
They're
it.
winning.
So, and that's a boring. When you're 1, 2, 3, finish 1, 2, 3, that's boring.
Yes. Yeah, you're
Like
right.
that's not an exciting thing to watch, no matter how much speed. And I get it. People are gonna say, "Oh, you can appreciate the level of intricacy for the cars." Like that's great, but let's talk about this from a pure entertainment standpoint. It's
Right.
not.
From a finished product standpoint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from a end on the tube, what am I seeing is not super exciting. But when
Right.
there is stuff that goes down, the highlights are always really fun.
Yeah.
So
So they'll be in Italy this weekend, Sunday, for the Italian Grand Prix at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. They're in Monza this weekend.
yeah, Alfa Romeo's got a new paint job for their car
Right.
for Monza to celebrate.
There you go. So it'll be interesting. So they're at Monza this weekend, then they got a week off, and then it's the Russian GP in Sochi, by the way. So anyway,
So
they're still. Let's see, we've got still 1, 2, 3. That one's canceled. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's still 8 races left. They're trying to fill in one because the one in Japan got canceled, and the one in Australia has been canceled. So they're still trying to fill in one of those dates, but they haven't finalized anything. So there are 8 races left at this point. And it's tight. It's 3 points, so anything can happen. We don't know who the winner's going to be, but definitely going to be one of those two guys, Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton. So anyway,
stands to reason.
yeah, pretty much that's how it works. All right, so let's talk about soccer for a minute, shall we?
Okay.
Okay. Portland Timbers won again, 2-0 against the Houston Dynamo. But that's not really a surprise. The Dynamo have lost like 100 games straight. They're not very good. But a win's a win. Then we say Yimi Chara and Felipe Mora each scored a goal in the first 20 minutes, and then goalie Steve Clark made a few pretty good saves, pretty top quality saves, to keep a clean sheet the rest of the way. It was Portland's first ever win at BBVA Stadium, which opened in 2012. So they've only been playing there for 9 years or 10 years, but they play every year there at least one game. So, but it was their first ever win there. Timbers are now 6th spot in the Western Conference, which is better. And if you want to look here, here's your Eastern Conference of the MLS. New England, probably the best team in MLS right now, sits atop with 52 points. And then your Western Conference, I'll show it to you. Here you go. So there's your Western Conference, and you can see Portland now at 6, tied with Salt Lake basically, but 1 point behind Minnesota. They're right in there where they probably should be. They probably should be better than that. They actually have a better team that can beat anybody. But anyway, there's Houston down at the bottom. If you're looking for them, they're 3, 10, and 10. In 23 games, they've won 3. So that's why they're having a rough season. But they have the same number of points as Austin, who has 5 wins. This tie thing drives me nuts, by the way. I wish we would just go to shootout and get it done with, and get a point, right?
Save us all some stress.
Or award some points. There's just wins and losses instead of having all this thing. 3 points for
Which
this.
team had the
points.
snazziest uniforms? Extra points.
Extra point, right? I
You
should
should have a Gryffindor like figure out there giving away points for no reason.
for no reason.
For
the best corner-
moral standing.
The best
1
taken
point.
corner kick all season. He gets 1 point.
That's right.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I think that would be quite funny. I think that's a great idea. But anyway, it's going to be tight. It's still early. There's still I don't know how many games left. They still got like 15 games or something like that. 12. I think it's 12.
Yeah.
Might be 12 games. Anyway, there's still a lot of soccer to play. I don't know what's going to happen in MLS. Again, it's too early for me to get too excited. I'll let you know in a couple weeks, and then we'll talk about it. But one thing we should be getting not excited. Let's call it riled up about the U.S. men's national team. They've
Okay.
played 2 World Cup qualifying matches so far, tied them both. The first was last Thursday when they tied El Salvador 0-0 on the road. And probably the more disappointing of the two was Sunday's 1-1 tie with Canada in Nashville. Um, it, they they don't look like that team that can finish and blows some opportunities when they have them. Um, they're not. They're young. I get it. It's a young team, but there's these guys are some of these guys are superstars. I mean, Christian Pulisic is plays with Chelsea in the English Premier League. Weston McKennie plays with Juventus in the Italian what is it, Serie A. Um, these guys are not nobodies, and I don't know. So they had some issues. Weston McKennie was dismissed from the team this week after staying out one night, snuck out of the COVID bubble that they're in for 7 days. Basically, they're in a bubble, and he snuck
Right.
out, and that violated protocol. So he didn't play on Sunday, and then Sunday he brought someone out from outside into the bubble.
Right.
And so the coach Greg Berhalter said, "Go home, go back to Italy, go play with your team." And then, of course, Serginho Dest got hurt against Canada. Pulisic was out from COVID. He missed the first match. They've had some issues. They just look inconsistent. They look really young. It would be nice to see more goals. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
offense is the thing. A 0-0 is going to lead you to eventually just a tie, or it's going to lead you to a shootout where you've got to put a ball in a net. And if you can't do that already, then you're hurting. I don't know. I want to see more. El Salvador was a team that was not nearly as good as the United States, but I could understand the jitters in being game one of this hexagonal. There's 14 games, by the way. They play each team twice. There's 8 teams, so 14 games. There's nothing to panic about necessarily yet, other than they don't look great doing it for the first 2 games. They're playing tonight. Did you watch any soccer at all? Because I know it's difficult because there's all kinds of other sports on. But did you get to see any? And I lost.
I have two.
All right, I missed some of that. So it was cutting in and out. You
Oh
back?
yeah, that happens. It started jumping in now just a second ago. So
Yeah.
no,
All
I
right.
have not watched any soccer. Soccer is there's so many other things.
Gotcha. All right.
Soccer is so far from my mind. After the U.S. won the Gold Cup, I was
Yep.
just over it.
United States is playing Honduras tonight in Honduras, and they're in the 11th minute. It is 0-0. Surprise. No score yet. But I don't know. I just don't see it. And you said earlier before this qualifying started that they probably wouldn't make it.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, and you may be right. You're going to have to win some games in order to make it. It would be nice to see them pull off something here in Honduras, but Honduras is a fairly good team in CONCACAF region. Not great, but fairly good. But Mexico leads the standings right now after 2 games. They've got 2 wins with 6 points. Panama has a win and a tie. They're second with 4 points. Everyone else pretty much either has 2. Canada, Honduras, United States, El Salvador, they all have 2 points from 2 ties. Top 3 go through automatically to the World Cup, and then the 4th team will play a play-in game with a team from another region. So that's how that works, in case you're wondering.
Sounds right.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. All right. So let's talk briefly. Well, not briefly. We can actually talk a little bit about it. Let's talk about, if I can find it, Dallas and Tampa Bay. Play
Dallas and
tomorrow night.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they're playing tomorrow night, kicking off the NFL season. This is game 1. Defending Super Bowl champions versus a team that was great after, 3 games? 4? Was it 4 games? I can't remember when Dak got hurt. They looked like world beaters at that point in time. Like Dak Prescott was going to throw for 27,000 yards last year.
That's the way to say it. He looked like he was going to throw for a lot. They were 1-3.
Yeah, they were not winning them.
Yeah, they did not look like world beaters. Dak Prescott
Their defense
looked like a world beater.
Their defense was terrible. They've made some offseason changes, some improvements. I expect them to be much better than they were last year. The NFC East couldn't get any worse than it was last year.
Fair
So
enough.
yeah. Who wins this game in Tampa tomorrow night?
I got Tampa winning it.
Give
It doesn't matter by how much because I don't think they're going to win by a lot, but I think they're going to win it.
This is gonna be one of those typical Week 1 games where they're feeling each other out, trying to,
21 to 17.
There you go, 21.
Something like that. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring of a game. No one's going to want to put all their cards on the table right up front. It's going to be kind of boring.
All right, because I had said Tampa Bay was going to win 24 to 17. So okay, about right, about the same.
That's fair.
If you were a betting person, well, we already talked about who's going to win the Super Bowl, didn't we? We already made your thing.
Yeah.
Never mind. Let's not even talk about it. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
When we get to that point.
Okay.
We
We'll do
had
a
our
mid-season update.
we had our fantasy football draft last night for our family's league. Call it whatever you want. Are you happy with what you got? How come
No.
How come every time there's never anyone that ends up going, oh, I got exactly what I wanted? It never happens.
Because you don't. Because everyone wants the same people.
I guess that's the way to put it.
It's because there are 7 great running backs, and there are 7 great quarterbacks, and there are 7 great wide receivers, and that's it. Maybe 2 great tight ends, 3. We'll say 3. So everyone's fighting over those people, and once those guys are gone, every other pick you make doesn't feel like a great pick. You feel like, well, I guess I took this person.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I feel confident in my first 3 picks. After that, I don't feel confident in any of them.
Yeah. I feel that same way. I got 2 or 3 really good players, and then the rest of them are like, okay, and all of it's probably moot in fantasy football anyway, because it's been my experience that some major part of your team is going to get hurt.
Right.
At least one star, and then another guy who's like irreplaceable, like a kicker or something.
Bound
stupid.
to happen.
Yeah, it happens every year, and so you end up going out there and searching a waiver wire trying to find a guy who's getting you 3 points that week, and just to fill in. And
just to take over. My problem in the previous years, not last year. So last year I'm in another league, and last year I won that league. And the thing that I paid the most attention to when I was drafting was bye weeks. Was filling my bye weeks properly. I had a couple good waiver pickups. I picked up Justin Herbert midway through the season when no one wanted him, and that ended up paying off big. But it was bye weeks. So now I'm focusing on bye weeks, and I think that's where everyone gets caught up is they don't focus on their bye weeks. They end up having to scramble to find a tight end, and he's going to get you 1 point or something like that, and then hose you. So
or he doesn't play.
Or he doesn't play, or
Right.
you go to pick up a running back and you realize the only running backs available are low end 2s.
Yeah.
And it's like crap. Third down 2s. And it's like that's not great. So
yeah. And there's just on the screen now is a week 1 schedule. We went over it before, but I just wanted to let everybody see it again in case there was a game you really wanted to see. A lot of intriguing games. I think there's going to be some interesting games. We don't know anything about anybody. Maybe the most interesting game on here is going to be Houston and Tyrod Taylor versus Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence, because Deshaun Watson's not going to play this year. He's out. He's going to be on the roster, but he is not going to play a football game this year. And Houston might have the worst team in football, playing the team that was the worst team in football last year. That could be exciting to me. I mean, I don't know.
I'm with you.
It might not be great football to watch, but if it's a close game and it's exciting, then that's great football to me. You know what I mean? The teams I could care less. It doesn't matter. So.
Just make it interesting.
Just make it interesting. That's all we care about.
That's all right. I care about, yeah.
All right. So now in a segment we call Your Mother Thinks I Talk Too Much. Parker has the floor to talk about whatever he wants for the next minute or so. So take it away, Parker.
Well, we're about 10 minutes ahead of schedule, so I might take more than a minute.
You can have 2.
But all right. So I'm going to talk about 3 different things. First thing comes back to our birthday discussion. When you're buying presents for people, everyone wants, people don't want to give cash. People don't want to give gift cards. They're so impersonal. No one really wants, to receive those. That's not true. Everyone wants to receive those things. They're the easiest things to give, and they're the easiest things to receive. It's awesome. But if you want to also give a homemade or sentimental gift, you should do that, but don't do it at the expense of the other gift. It's like, well, I was going to give them a $50 gift card, but I know they really like bath salts. So I'm going to give them $25 worth of bath salts and a $25 gift card. It's like, just give them the $50 gift card. They'll go buy the $5 worth of bath salts for that one bath they're going to take. And then they'll use the other $45 properly. So that's the first gripe.
properly.
Don't think you're smarter than what the person who's talking to you is asking for.
Oh.
They know what they want.
Right.
All right. So the second thing is talking about Dumbledore giving away points. All right.
Yeah.
Real important stuff. So while we were talking, I pulled up a sweet infograph that's available online, and it talks about all of the ways that Dumbledore's given out points. But over the course of all the Harry Potter books, they've given out 1,727 points. All right, over all of the books, 1,100 went to Gryffindor, with 50 going to Ravenclaw, 50 going to Slytherin, and then a mismatch of other ones, right? Just massively in favor of Gryffindor. So in terms of subtracting, they've deducted 627. They've subtracted more than that. It's like 700 and something. Sorry, guys, I got ahead of myself. 1727 total exchanged points. 1,100 were given, with 1,000 going to Gryffindor, 50 to Ravenclaw, 50 to Slytherin. No points were ever awarded to Hufflepuff. Never.
Huh.
Not in any of the books. And I'm just wondering, what did Hufflepuff do to piss people off? Like, were they just not good at anything? Or
Right.
specifically, did they not piss people off? But they did have a subtraction of 15 at one point. Just never got any.
Name one student
From Hufflepuff?
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
That was I don't know why
Nice.
when I mentioned Dumbledore giving out points earlier, that popped into my head, and I was like, hold on now.
Gotta look
How
up the
many
stats.
points is he giving out to who? There's this infographic actually shows you like how many points he's given Harry, how many points he's given Ron, how many points he's given Hermione, how many points he's taken away from Draco, all this stuff. It's really exciting stuff.
I'm not gonna lie. I find it interesting that someone actually broke it down. Someone actually researched it and did all the math. Because
They took their sweet time
Right?
to kind of figure it out.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
That's-
And then the third thing we're going to talk about is I went to a concert at T-Mobile Park, and people were very, very good about wearing their masks, and I was very impressed. And I just want to give like a little kudos to the world for being better than you usually are.
So tell them who you saw.
Okay, so I saw the opener was the Interrupters, a little ska band, followed by Weezer, followed by Fall Out Boy, followed by Green Day.
Okay.
It was called the Hella Mega Tour, and it was the final show on the tour.
So
It was pretty epic.
what would you say the average age of the concert goer was?
You know, that's an interesting thing. I would say that most people were early mid 30s.
Okay.
Some maybe you could probably go 30 to 40, somewhere in that range.
Right.
But there was a shocking amount of like 15 and under kids who were there with their parents and loved. There were these kids sitting 2 rows in front of us who couldn't have been more than like 10. And when Weezer came on and they started playing Buddy Holly, those kids freaked out. Clearly their parents had shown them the music and they liked it. They lost their minds. So, and the Weezer frontman Rivers Cuomo came out and he had a mullet and a big thick mustache. He looked straight out of like the 70s. It was great. It was classic.
So that's good parenting right there.
Yeah, that's the way it seemed. All the kids that were there were pretty much getting into it. There were some people that were just kind of like not paying attention on their phones the whole time, but for the most part, everyone who was there. And Green Day closed with "Good Riddance," which is like one of their most famous songs.
Yeah.
And half the crowd was crying.
Oh.
And it's like, what is wrong with you people? And Joey's like, oh, it's a sentimental. I went with my buddy Joey. He's like, it's a sentimental song for a lot of people. I'm like, because it's like graduations.
Yep.
They play them at like funerals. They play it all the time.
Yep.
So they said that it's got a big following. And I was like, I don't get it. The lady next to me was crying. I'm like, what do I do? she's really close to me and crying. I don't know what to do.
Gosh. I don't.
But no, it was awesome. Green Day was fantastic. Fall Out Boy was really cool. Weezer was who I went to see, and they were epic. They played Africa, and people went crazy.
Oh, that's
So
great. That's a good.
exactly what you'd expect.
Exactly what you'd expect.
But yeah, no, everyone was wearing their masks, and there wasn't a lot of social distancing because you really couldn't get that far from people. But everyone was wearing their masks, and you know, I'm a big fan of like pull down the mask, take your drink, and before you even swallow it, put your mask back up. That's what I do when I'm out like in like events like that.
Yeah.
People were all doing that around me, and it was great.
That's nice. That's good.
So again, kudos to the world.
That's good. Well, and to be fair, it was in Seattle, and so you've got a Western, more progressive group, I guess, of people, and the people that would listen to that kind of music are probably a little more progressive as well. Just
I'll tell you, the more drunk people got though as the night progressed,
yeah,
the more the mask slowly slid down. It kept not going up as far
yeah,
when they would put it back on.
yeah.
But I'm just chalking that up more to like I'm not thinking about it than like I'm not doing it.
I can see that.
So,
I get it. All
but
right.
it was really cool, really great concert.
Okay. I like it. Um, your mom wanted to go, by the way.
Yeah, I know. She would have loved that. She
See?
might have been. You guys might have been a little freaked out by just there was 35,000 people there or something like that.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of people,
Yeah.
but so that might have freaked people out. But it was awesome. They played all the good songs that you'd want to hear, and it was clear. Like sometimes you go to concerts that are outdoors, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
you can't really understand it,
Yeah.
but
Gotcha.
you could hear everything. It was perfect.
Nice. All right.
Kudos to those audio guys.
One thing left to do, and that's
Trivia question.
talk about the trivia question.
Yes, sir.
So, trivia question again brought to you by Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. The winery at the vineyard is open 12 to 6 daily for indoor and outdoor seating, and the wine garden. Don't forget they have a new wine garden out there that you can sit in Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. The downtown tasting room is open 12 to 6 Thursday through Sunday. For more information, call 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. You can get a reservation online. There's a little button right here on the website if you look at it. It's a little make your reservation now. Click it. Send them a request for a reservation. You can call them for one. They have award-winning wines, a fantastic outside seating area. It's a beautiful view of Mount Adams. It's just fantastic from right there. Anyway, I highly recommend it. The wine's good. The atmosphere is good. It's a nice place. So that's Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. Stave and Stone Wines with Personality. So what's the trivia question? Do you remember? No. Let me read it again because nobody's going to be able to recite it. There's been 5 times in college football history that an FCS football championship subdivision team has beaten a ranked football bowl subdivision opponent. We talked about the one from Saturday with Montana beating Washington. Everyone knows App State's win over Michigan in 2007, and then probably the North Dakota State win over number 13 Iowa in 2016. What are the 2 other times it's happened? That's the question.
I know what they are.
Okay, go.
Well, one of them was when Eastern Washington beat Oregon State.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, Oregon State was barely ranked, and I think they were 25th at the time.
25th,
This proved why.
Yep.
So yeah, and then the other one is I remember a couple of years ago. I want to say it was like 2015 or 14, but North Dakota State beat, and this is where I'm getting hung up. They beat a Big 12 school. I think it was Iowa State, but I don't remember for sure. But they had an upset of a ranked team sometime in the last like 5 to 10 years.
That's the one I was telling you. I was giving you that one.
Then the other one that I had was JMU.
Yeah, James Madison.
Yeah, because that was kind of like a huge. That was like 2010.
2010.
Because the Ducks were really big at the time.
Wow.
And that kind of sent like ripples through everything. Yeah, the big JMU upset.
Yeah, James Madison beat Virginia Tech, number 13, Virginia Tech, 21-16.
They were 13th?
13th, yep.
I didn't realize they were doing that well.
And that Eastern Washington win was a 49-46 win in Corvallis. Who was the quarterback for Eastern Washington?
At the time?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Vernon Adams.
Oh, yeah.
Vernon Adams.
That's right. Because they went and played Washington like that year or the next year and almost beat them in Washington.
Vernon Adams was a sophomore in 2013. And on his team was freshman wide receiver Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
And freshman defensive end linebacker Samson Ebukam, who actually played for the Rams as well. So they had Vernon Adams didn't make the NFL. I mean, he's playing CFL now. But
he's killing it in the CFL.
Yeah, but that was a team loaded with talent. Is all I'm trying to say. That was not your typical FCS.
Well, they got a lot of cast-offs, kids that couldn't make it grades wise or elsewise, or got in trouble at big schools and ended up there. So except for Cooper Kupp, who I think just kind of overachieved.
Cooper Kupp from Davis High School in Yakima, Washington. There you go. There's the plug.
Big deal right there.
Big deal. It's a big deal.
An honorable mention. We should talk about Portland State beat Washington State and Oregon State, both not ranked teams or anything like that, but pretty big upsets.
Yep.
So they've made $1 million on upsets.
Do you remember when the Oregon State Eastern Washington game happened? We were driving down to Eugene to watch Oregon play Nichols State.
Yes.
That's when we
yes.
heard it on the radio. That's when
And we were like, no way, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway.
Because I think it was the next year's when Portland State played
Yep.
Oregon State,
And beat 'em.
and they had them on the ropes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
everyone was like, is it going to happen again?
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty exciting. So.
Yeah, nothing better than watching Oregon State lose. Sorry, all my friends.
I mean, I agree with that. I mean, sort of, kind of.
All of my friends are Duck fans or Beaver fans. Every one of them.
Are they really?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it the other day, and I was like, "There's 4 people I hang out with, and it's Chris, and it's Joey, and it's AJ, and they're all Beaver fans."
You got to hang out with better people.
I mean, I gotta get better. I gotta have better friends.
You got to get better friends. That's all I'm saying. So that's all we're gonna have for today. I wanted to give people a little look at the best Lamm sports show. The lammsports.com. This is the website right here. If you go there, you'll see obviously the logo and some information about us. Here's where the last week's trivia question is, and that there's a little button, you can hit it. It'll take you right to a website for the trivia question answer. Anyway, it's awesome. There's links to past shows on here. If you want to watch last week's show, this week's show, which I don't have the link to yet, but I will. But there's last week's show, and on back, it holds quite a few. And then there's a photo gallery, some photos that we've posted, places that I've been, sports-related things. Anyway, on and on. So go to the website, check it out. It's awesome. I promise. 5 minutes. Just take 5 minutes out of your day and go look at it. And then send us an email or, let us know somehow. Subscribe on the website, and you'll be on the mailing list. And then I'll send you updates when I update the website. Awesome. Anyway, that's all we have for today. It's a little loud there. That means, hold on. Let me back it up. We'll be back next week with more college football, NFL news, MLB, MLS, Formula One, much more. Whatever I can find, we'll find something interesting. But we'll definitely talk about all the college football games from week 2, those big ones. Again, we're live streaming on YouTube every weekend. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can email us, lammsports@gmail.com. We want to thank our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media, LLC. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.